Ever felt like you're watching a particularly dramatic episode of House of Cards, only instead of Kevin Spacey, it's, well, gestures vaguely everything? That's kinda how the latest headlines feel, eh? You're probably scrolling through your phone, catching snippets of news, and maybe you've stumbled across something about Trump, Canada, and a whole lot of billions. And if you're anything like most folks, you're probably thinking, okay, what fresh hell is this now? Let's be real. The relationship between Canada and the US has always been complicated. We're like that old married couple who live next door, constantly borrowing each other's tools and complaining about each other's lawn care. But this feels different. This isn't just a spat about softwood lumber or dairy quotas. This is, allegedly, about a golden dome and a demand for $61 billion. $61 billion. That's enough to buy, like, all the Timbits in the country for a decade, or maybe fund a few universal health care programs. You know, priorities. Now, before you start picturing Trump building some sort of solid gold monument to himself on the White House lawn, which, let's be honest, wouldn't be entirely out of character, let's pump the brakes a little. The details surrounding this so-called Golden Dome are, shall we say, a little murky. Is it a metaphor? Is it literal? Is it just some fever dream concocted after one too many Diet Cokes? We don't know yet, but what we do know is that the implications of such a demand, whether real or imagined, are pretty darn significant for us Canucks. Think about it. $61 billion is a hefty chunk of change. It's more than the annual defense budget. It's enough to make even the most fiscally conservative politician choke on their poutine. If such a demand were actually made, and if Canada were to entertain it, and that's a big if, it would fundamentally alter the economic and political landscape of our country. It would force us to reevaluate our relationship with our southern neighbor, our place in the world, and maybe even whether we really want to keep borrowing their tools. So, what's the real story here? Is this just another headline designed to grab attention and stir up controversy? Is it a negotiating tactic? Or is it something more sinister, a sign of deeper tension simmering beneath the surface of the Canada-US relationship? That's what we're going to unpack. We'll delve into the context, the potential motivations, and the possible consequences of this alleged demand. We'll try to separate the fact from the fiction, the bluster from the substance, and hopefully, by the end, we'll have a clearer picture of what's really going on. And maybe, just maybe, we'll understand what this Golden Dome is all about. So grab a double-double, settle in, and let's try to make sense of this whole kerfuffle, eh? Ben voyons donc, avant de s'emballer sur ce potin de dôme doré, prenons un peu de recul pour replacer tout ça dans son contexte historique. Les relations canado-américaines, c'est pas d'hier, t'essaies. On a beau être les meilleurs voisins du monde, il y a toujours eu des petites frictions, des négociations serrées puis des accords commerciaux qui font jaser. Pensez juste à l'accord de libre-échange nord-américain, ALENA, maintenant remplacé par l'ACEM. Ça n'a pas été une promenade de santé, ça. Il y a eu des débats enflammés, des inquiétudes sur l'emploi, puis des craintes de voir notre culture noyée sous une vague d'influence américaine. En fait, depuis la Confédération, on a toujours eu une espèce de complexe par rapport aux États-Unis. On est comme le petit frère qui essaye de se faire respecter par le grand frère costaud. On admire leur dynamisme, leur puissance économique, mais on a aussi peur de se faire avaler tout rond. C'est pour ça qu'on a toujours insisté sur notre identité propre, notre système de santé universel, notre multiculturalisme, puis notre façon bien à nous de voir le monde. On a bâti un filet de sécurité sociale, justement pour éviter de devenir une copie conforme de nos voisins du Sud. Faut pas oublier non plus que les relations entre les leaders des deux pays ont souvent été déterminantes. Pensez à la complicité entre Brian Mulroney puis Ronald Reagan, ou aux tensions entre Pierre Elliott Trudeau puis Richard Nixon. Chaque président américain a sa propre façon de négocier puis d'interagir avec le Canada. Certains sont plus amicaux, d'autres plus, disons, directs. Puis ça influence énormément la façon dont les dossiers sont traités. Cependant, cette demande de 61 milliards, si elle est réelle, marque une rupture. C'est un peu comme si, soudainement, le grand frère costaud te demandait de lui donner ton fonds de pension pour qu'il puisse se construire une piscine creusée. Ça remet en question le respect mutuel puis l'équilibre des forces. Ça nous force à nous demander si on est vraiment considérés comme des partenaires égaux ou juste comme un guichet automatique. Puis, faut pas se leurrer, l'économie canadienne est intimement liée à celle des États-Unis. On exporte une énorme quantité de biens puis de services chez eux. Une crise économique chez nos voisins, ça se répercute directement chez nous. Alors, on n'a pas vraiment le luxe de les ignorer complètement. Mais en même temps, on ne peut pas se laisser marcher sur les pieds. Faut trouver un juste milieu entre la collaboration puis la protection de nos intérêts. Alors, cette histoire de dôme doré, c'est peut-être juste un coup de bluff, une façon de tester nos limites. Mais c'est aussi un rappel que nos relations avec les États-Unis sont fragiles puis qu'il faut rester vigilant, faut se rappeler d'où on vient, de nos valeurs puis de ce qui est important pour nous en tant que Canadiens. Puis il faut être prêt à défendre notre place, même si ça veut dire tenir tête à un voisin puissant. Après tout, on n'est pas des tickles, say, on a not mow a deer. Right, so where does all this leave us, eh? We've been kicking around this whole shebang of a situation, this alleged demand for billions and some kind of golden thing. And hopefully, you're starting to see how it's not just about the money, or even the, let's say, unique personality involved. It's about something deeper, something that touches on the very core of what it means to be Canadian in the 21st century, sandwiched right next door to the global superpower. Think of it like this, right? We're all paddling in the same canoe, navigating some pretty choppy waters. We've got our own oars, our own rhythm, but the current coming from the south is strong, always trying to pull us in a different direction. Sometimes we paddle along, no problem, sharing the view and maybe even a few laughs. Other times we gotta dig in our heels, plant our paddles firm, and make sure we don't get swept away completely. This whole Golden Dome business, whatever it actually is, feels like one of those times we really gotta pay attention to the current, eh? It's kind of like when you're driving on the 401 in the middle of winter, right? You're cruising along, minding your own business, listening to the tragically hip, and then bam! A sudden gust of wind from a passing transport truck nearly sends you into the ditch. You gotta grip the wheel tight, correct your course, and remember to stay vigilant. This situation, this potential demand, is that gust of wind. It's a reminder that things can change in a heartbeat, and we gotta be ready to adjust. Reflecting on this journey so far, we've seen how historical baggage, economic realities, and even the personalities of world leaders can all converge to create these moments of, well, let's call it interestingness. It's not just about whether we can afford to cough up 61 billion loonies. It's about what it says about our relationship, about the respect, or lack thereof, that we command on the world stage. It's about whether we're seen as a partner or just a piggy bank. Now, we're not quite at the end of the road, not yet. There's still one more bend to go around, one more thought to ponder. But as we get closer to the final destination, it's worth taking a moment to appreciate the scenery, to consider what we've learned along the way, to think about what it all means, not just for us as individuals, but for us as a nation. Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters, eh? What kind of Canada do we want to be? And what are we willing to do to protect it? The answer, as always, is a little more complicated than it seems. But hopefully, after all this, we're a little bit closer to finding it. So, the rubber hits the road, eh? We've chewed the fat about this whole Golden Dome shebang, this apparent demand for a king's ransom from south of the border. We've looked at the history, the context, the potential implications. And maybe, just maybe, we're starting to see that it's not just about the money. It's about something far more important: our identity, our sovereignty, and our place in the world as Canadians. Think of it like this. We're all sitting around the kitchen table playing a game of euchre. The stakes are high, the competition is fierce, and everyone's got their eye on the prize. But at the end of the day, it's not just about winning or losing. It's about how we play the game. Do we play fair? Do we respect the rules? Do we look out for each other? That's what really matters. And that's what this whole situation boils down to, eh? How do we, as Canadians, want to play the game? This Golden Dome thing, whatever it might be, it's a test. It's a test of our resolve, our resilience, and our ability to stand up for what we believe in. It's a reminder that we can't take our relationship with the United States for granted. We can't just assume that they'll always have our best interests at heart. We gotta be vigilant, we gotta be assertive, and we gotta be prepared to fight for our place at the table. And that's not just the job of our politicians in Ottawa, eh? It's the job of every single one of us. It's about speaking up, it's about getting involved, and it's about making our voices heard. It's about reminding the world that Canada is more than just a friendly neighbor. We're a nation with our own values, our own priorities, and our own unique perspective on the world. We're a nation that's worth fighting for. So, what's the takeaway from all this, eh? It's simple. Don't let anyone tell you who you are. Don't let anyone tell you what you're worth. And don't let anyone take away your sense of pride in being Canadian. This whole Golden Dome thing might just be a passing storm, a blip on the radar. But it's a reminder that we gotta stay true to ourselves, and we gotta keep paddling our own canoe, no matter how choppy the waters get. The true practice begins now, eh? Let's show the world what we're made of.